My name is Paige. I do handmade wooden ornaments, and recently this year I started also making some handmade wooden earrings as well. And in addition, I also make wooden carvings. What I love about working with wood is every piece of wood is a little bit different, so it's always challenging. You have to be paying attention to what the wood wants to do. You really have to be hyper-focused on what you're doing because things can go awry otherwise if you're not really paying attention. So I enjoy the challenge of working with wood. For the wood-burned ornaments, I take this pen and turn it on. It's not plugged in right now, but I turn it on and this pen heats up. I've got a bunch of different tips for it. There's only 3 that I ever use, a needle point, and this one's kind of like a ballpoint pen, and this one's a slightly larger ballpoint pen basically. And then you can dial in the temperature, and then it's just a matter of how quickly you're moving the pen, the time that it's staying in one spot, just like if you're making toast, and how much pressure you're applying. If you're pushing down really hard, then you're going to get a darker burn, obviously. That's another part of what I like about it is there's a lot going on. You know, if you're drawing in pen, it doesn't really matter how hard you're pressing down, but when you're wood burning, it makes a huge difference. You want to try to keep a fairly uniform surface, and the only way to do that is by pressing very lightly for most of it. So an ornament like this one, there's a lot going on. To try to make wood look like a metal surface, there's a lot of reflections on here. For the darker areas, I'm holding the pen in place. I'm going a little bit slower. For these really light areas, it's very quick movement and just barely touching the tip of the pen to the piece of wood. One thing that I started making this year that was brand new for me was earrings. I've been making them out of Bacote wood, tulip wood, padauk, and then I started making some out of cigar boxes. So in addition to the large inventory that I already have of some exotic woods, I started recycling because everybody can feel a little bit better about that, and they smell fantastic. These are mostly the teardrop ones. Those have been the big seller this year. But I also have oval ones and all different shapes. I also make some carvings. This is a little Christmas tree carving. A lot of kids like to call these unicorn horns. I'm not offended. It's cool, whatever. These are Moravian stars that are carved from a block. That's kind of a mind puzzle, figuring out how to do that. And then I also have these icicles. You just carve along the spiral lines going down and keep carving, and eventually they are hollow. Sometimes they snap before I'm done. I also make some ornaments on the scroll saw. So these are some scroll saw ornaments, and then these are made on the scroll saw with a compound cut. So you're basically doing 2 different front views from a block of wood. I have some projects that are a combination of cutting on the scroll saw and wood burning. And then this one this one is scroll saw cut and carved and wood burned. So that one's kind of all 3 of my interests. And then this one is cut on the scroll saw and then carved. So the Doodle Club started off right when we were first in quarantine. I said, okay, if I'm not at the after school program where I work, I might as well make a video for these kids to have some sense of normalcy while they're stuck at home. I started the Quarantine Doodle Club on my YouTube page, and Brett from Medfield TV immediately reached out to me and said, hey, we want this on Medfield TV. So then it became the Paige Doodle Club, which I've been doing ever since. It's been a fun project. I'm also doing a podcast now. 2020 has been a pretty wild year. So I'm also on Small Town Scuttlebutt, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, any of those places where you listen to podcasts. I have a Facebook page or Instagram page. They're both at Paige Studios. I'm also on Etsy as Paige Studios. Any one of those forms, you can just send me a message and I'll get right back to you. I know a lot of school districts back in like April immediately cut the arts. It's always the first thing to go. But I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that, you know, quarantine happened. Everybody goes straight to the arts, drawing projects, or, you know, you turn on Netflix to watch something. The arts are everybody's escape. So I think it's very important to support the arts, especially in times like this when, you know, things aren't an ideal situation and everybody's struggling. If you buy a photo that you really love or a portrait that somebody made, you know, you hang it up, you look at it every day, and you'll appreciate it. It's always worth the price that you paid for it. I've been doing the holiday stroll since its first year, which I've been very excited to be a part of it every year. I love that I run into a whole bunch of people from around town that I don't necessarily get to see all the time, but I'll run into old students at the holiday stroll, and it's just cool seeing so many people from town. Everybody's in a great mood, walking around, enjoying the evening. It's one of my favorite days of the year, and it stinks that this year, you know, we're doing it through TV, but I'm glad it's still happening.